we may have several operating segments. Out of that, we are going to identify what are the operating segments. Right? Parallelly, examiner may ask, what are the benefits of having segmental reporting? And then what are the challenges? How we are going to advise to them, right? What are the challenges around that? We did discuss. In the organization, you may have different operating segments. To divide that, whatever the common expenses, we should have a basis for dividing between reportable segments. To do that classification, allocation may be complicated. We have a proper information system to identify separately what are the expenses relating to that reportable segments. That's the challenge you are having. And sometimes once you are disclosing that, it will be some, it will create some sensitive information about the organization. Others. Right. So you can do here and there paying in the attendance about standard, but if you are, once you are starting consolidation, if you are getting absent, that's it, right? End of the whole degree. Not about this semester, right? You are dealing with corporate reporting. Consolidation, the heart of the oral degree. You are starting consolidation, you have to be there in the classroom with all these sensors, with the mind. You come in the lecture room again. Then and there, we need to understand what's happening in the classroom. At the last moment, your friend can't teach these things before the exam. 11th hour of the exam, you can't catch this. You can study about the standard. That's all right. You can ask this segmental reporting from my friend. That's easy. But consolidation, you can't manage like that. You have to be there in good concentration within the class. That's expectation, right? You can say, console right? I'm planning to cover today case 34, interim financial reporting, case 21, the effect from foreign exchange differences to the financial statement. Those are the two standards I'm planning for today, right? On top of that, I'm going to recall this standard. We discussed last week. Last week? Yeah, last week. I hope you did one question and a past paper. It's pretty straightforward, right? Once you are having several operating segments, you need to have understanding. You need to have understanding what are the reportable segments. Once you are doing this activity, these are some of the steps. First, you need to understand what are the operating segments, and then aggregation criteria, then quantitative threshold, then reportable segment. Whether you after identify reportable segment, that is not the end. Then what we need to do? We need to develop our disclosure. So for reportable segments, we need to give our disclosures. I uploaded one examples to the LMS. Can you see this? So I extracted this from one of our listed entity. That's a disclosure. What is that? Can you read through this? With the small, but you can manage it, I guess. Segmental information. This is a disclosure you are supposed to do as a accountant in your annual report, in your financial statement, right? But they have mentioned here, this is a RCD Hospital PLC. RCD Hospital PLC is a hospital operation, right? So what are the segments they have identified? Pre-care, post-care, pharmaceutical, other services. What are the operating segments then? Three reportable segments. Others, what is this? When make them a guy. Understand that. Other services. Other than this key operating segments, key reportable segment, we have other line. Why? The standard requirement is once you are giving this segmental information, definitely you need to reconcile with the balance sheet P&L numbers. To reconcile with that, we need to have a other column. Otherwise, it's not tally. There. This is a, you can say that this is type of a very weak segmental reporting. Segment reporting disclosure. Only they have given what? Revenue. Yeah, revenue maker. P&L again revenue maker. Tally करना है Tally करना we need to add other column. Right. With this other column, so P&L की revenue maker मोनोन दिए 31 billion. 31 billion is the P&L revenue, right? The standard requirement is you need to reconcile P&L revenue with the segmental reporting total. Then their stakeholders can understand what is the composition of the revenue and how we can cross-check with the P&L. That's one of the requirement, right? Required amataka. Other than that, our point is that right? What is that? If you are changing your segmental segments last year to this year to next year, you need to reclassify opening balances. What do you mean by that? Then we first no pay. But the director, last year we recognized maybe 3 reportable segments. This year it was changed to 4. Then how we are going to manage that situation? You are supposed to give advices to CFO. How we are going to advise it? Last year we had 8 operating segments. We identified 3 as reportable segments. Others we categorize as others. Right. So after expanding within this year, that quantitative threshold achieve 1 other segment. Now this year how much? 4. Last year 3, this year 4. Then what we need to do? Segmental information you need to use the current year numbers with the comparative figures. Question is, last year we had 3, this year we have 4. What we need to do for this 4th item? The last year number should be split again. Other services should be split for this year. Right? And this year also, this year we are supposed to give 4 segments. Last year also, this 3 segments should be split to 4 segments. Last year, other services our split karana. That's called last year comparatives. Last year comparatives should be restated once you are changing your reportable segments. Okay. It is not keep there. 80%. පාඩමක් ඉන්නේ. නිකන් බලන් ඉන්නවා. කාල ඉවර වෙලා ඒ නිසා දැනෙන්නේ නිකන් බලන් ඉන්නවා පාඩම තේරෙන්නේ. මේ කැටගරියකද කියලා තමන් ඉන්නේ කියලා බලන්න. මට තේරෙනවා ඒක. ඒ කියන්නේ මම කියලා දෙන්නේ last 20 years auditor කෙනෙක්. ඔබ එකට ලෙක්චර්ස් කරන්නේ. last 20 years auditor කෙනෙක් නම් මොකද මම කියන්නේ නැත්නම් last 20 years audit කරා මොකද වෙලා තියෙන්නේ? specialize වෙනෝනේ දෙයක් 20 years ම කරොත් නැත්නම් audit training ගිහිල්ලා අවුරුදු එකමාරේ ගයින් දෙන්න යන්න. ජීවත් වෙන ස්පීඩ් එකක් වෙන ෂොට් එකක්. ඒකේ යුනික්නස් එකක් තියෙනවා. ඔඩිටර්ගේ කස්ටමර් හැමදාම ඔඩිටර්ට බැඳ තමයි ඔඩිට් වෙන්න අවශ්‍ය නැහැ කවුරු. කලෙක්ෂන් එක අවශ්‍යයි. සර් හොඳට ගන්නනවා සර්ට කැමතියි නේද? hina වෙනවා සර් එක නේද? ඔව් එහෙම හොඳයි. හැබැයි කඩේකට ගියාම ඒ සර්විස් එක ගන්න කැමතියි. හොටෙල් එකකට ගියාම ඒ සර්විස් එක ගන්න කැමතියි නේද? හැබැයි ඔඩිටර්ගේ සර්විස් එක ගන්න ගියාම ඔඩිටර්ට බැඳ තමයි. හැමදාම මගේ කස්ටමර් මට බැඳ තමයි සර්විස් එක ගන්න. That's the uniqueness of that profession. That's why I'm doing lectures as a hobby, right? So after doing auditing in different fields, like not locally in many countries, so having that experience, I have skepticism type of a specialization. What is that? But the specialization, and what declared out of the instructor, doctor කෙනෙක් නම් පාඩ මොකක්ද වෙන්නේ ස්පෙෂලායිසේෂන් එක. දෙදා එනකොටම කියන්න පුළුවන් මේ ලෙඩේ තියෙන්නේ කියලා නේ. එහෙම නේ. එදා බලන්න නැතුව ස්කෑන් වුණොත් CT scan, full blood report, liver profile, without having all these system reports, the doctor can tell that maybe 60% level accuracy. What's the wrong with that person? එහෙම කියනවා. මගේ යාළුවෝ ඉන්නවා almost 15 years වගේ ડોක්ටර්ට සර්විස් එක කරලා තියෙන්නේ. ළඟින් යන්න බෑ දෙඩ කියන. මොකද මේක තියෙනවා ටෙස්ට් කරලා නෙවෙයි. ළඟ ඉන්නකොට කියන්නේ. ඒතකොට දැන් last 40 years වගේ lectures කරලා advanced sir වගේ කෙනෙක්. එයාට මොකද? එයාට ළමයා දැක්ක ගමන් කියන්න පුළුවන් next 10 years එයා පහටද යන්නේ කියලා නේ. ඒක obviously කියන්න පුළුවන්. ඔයා හොරොස්කෝප් බලන්නවා. වෙන මේක බලනවා මුකුත් බලන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. ඒකට කියන්න පුළුවන්. So last 20 years audit කරාම මොකද කරන්න පුළුවන්? දැක්ක ගමන් මිනිසුන්ව ස්කෑන් කරනවා. හිත කියවන්න පුළුවන්. දැක්ක ගමන් හොර වැඩක් කරනවා නම් කළා නම් හිත copy paste වෙනවා. ඒක මැජික් එකක් නෙවෙයි. CFO හොර කළා නම් ඉන්ටර්විව් කරනකොටම තේරෙනවා හොර කළා තියෙන්නේ මොකනද කියලා. හොරා කවුද හොරෙක්ද නැත්ද ඇත්තටද මේ ඉන්නේ ජෙනුයින්ද නැද්ද කියන එක ස්කෑන් වෙනවා. ඒතකොට ස්ටුඩන්ට් කෙනෙකුත් ස්කෑන් වෙනවා. වා තේරෙන්නේ නැතුව තේරෙනවා වගේ ඉන්නකොට මට හොඳට තේරෙනවා. ඒතකොට තේරෙන්නේ නැතුව තේරෙනවා වගේ ඉන්න හදන්න එපා. ඒතකොට ඔයා රැවටිලා මම රැවටිලා නැහැ. ඔයා ඩබල් රැවටිලා. මම ඒකයි කියන්නේ. That's why I'm telling you. If you are not getting it, tell me. Then I will repeat myself in another way. Maybe another language, right? So if you want to make it customized, you have to tell it. Otherwise, I am giving this as a common, same spoon I am using for each and every student. Okay? So if you want to customize it, ask the question. Sir, I can't understand this. Make a theruna, sir. I took here. That's good. යාළුවා අහන ප්‍රශ්න දෙකක් තුනක් නේ. ඒක හොඳයි. එහෙම ප්‍රශ්නයක් අහන්න. ප්‍රශ්නේ හරිද වැරදිද කියලා හිතේ තියෙන්නේ මම මෝඩ ප්‍රශ්නයක් වුණා. ඔයාගේ යාළුවෝ ඊට වඩා මෝඩ ප්‍රශ්නයක් අහන්න. එහෙමවත් අහගන්න බැරුව ඉන්නේ යාළුවෝ. මෝඩ ප්‍රශ්නයක් වුණාද ලැජ්ජ වෙයිද? සර් කියයිද? ඒක අදාළ නැහැ. You can do mistake here in the classroom, but you can't do mistakes in the live environment. That's the issue. Once you are going to perform this as an accountant, don't do that mistake. If you are doing it, you are ruining not only you, your family, your whatever your colleagues, SAP campus, and the lecturers as well. Now you can do mistakes, you can ask questions, you can repeat yourself, and again clarify the things. You are the person who are preparing the segmented information. You should have the basic understanding, not the head and tail of the segmented report in standard, but at least you should have a basic knowledge, right? How we are going to do that? Right? So that's what I want to highlight. What I was telling. Here we have, see, මෙතන තියෙනවා මොනවද? segment තුනක් identify කරලා මොනවද? reportable කියන. ගොඩක් තියෙනවා. මේ ගොඩක කොහටද දාලා තියෙන්නේ? අද ඇතුළට. ඇයි අද ඇතුළට දැන්? අද කියන්නේ අයින් කරලා පෙන්නන්න. You can remove that and you can show this three now. If you are removing it, you can't carry that to the place of the PN. To that, we need to add another column, right? What happened next year? Next year, one of a segment included here, which will be operated more. Without a quantitative threshold, revenue very well for 10%. Then next year, 4 then. Next year, 4 reportable segments. Next year, 4. Once you are coming to 2016, 4 segments. Once you are coming to 16, 4 segments means we need to split this. We need to split this to some other segments, right? So make us better to this part. This part is the other one. This is higher. This is better. Once you are showing 2025, we have 3. Now we need to split to 4. That's the only thing I discussed. That can be tested in the exam. Question. But I'm going to ask. The CFO is struggling to convert the last year numbers, split last year numbers to 4 segments. He is supposed to show only 3 segments. Are you agree with him? According to the standard. No, we can't agree. What we need to do? We need to restate the last year balances according to the current year reportable segments. Put a note. Koi hari. අතේ හරි කමන්නේ ලියාගෙන තියාගන්න. එකපාරක් අතේ ලියුවම මතක හිටියසි. ඒකට කමන්නේ. මේ ඩිස්ක් එකේ ලියන්න එපා. ඒ තාපාට හරි පාවිච්චි කරන්න. දැන් කට්ටි හිතාගෙන ඉන්න සමහර ළමයි ලියන්නෙම නැහැ කියලා පොතේ අකුරක් වань. ලෙක්චර් එකේ ඇතුලේ ලියන්නෙම නැහැ කියලා හිතන්නේ. ඒ ළමයි ලියන්න ගන්නව කවදින්ද? කොන්සෝල් පටන් ගත්ත දවසේ. Yes. I didn't get it. Yes. But we need to give as a question. Give as answer. Right? What you need to tell is once you are doing your reportable segment for current year, after calculating reportable segment for current year, so what after calculating, after identifying reportable segment for current year. Reportable segment for current year. Current year, the identified segments may vary with the last year. The identified segments may vary with the last year. Last year, reportable segment. Last year, reportable segment. Last year reportable segment. In such a scenario, the comparative information of reportable segment last year. Of reportable segment last year should be reclassified. It should be reclassified according to the new presentation. Should be reclassified according to the new presentation. New presentation means new within bracket new reportable segment. අපි දීපු ස්ලයිඩ් එකේ තියෙනවද? ලපාරසේ ඉදාලද තියෙන්නේ. දෙකේ කප්පු. ලපාරසේ print out දාලා තියෙන කට්ටිය කොහොමද දෙක තියෙනවද? ලපාරසේ print out. Yes. Slide එක refer කරනවනම් මම කියපු දේ කොහෙද තියෙන්නේ? Slide number 19, second paragraph. Right? You need to rewrite it. What I have mentioned, that is the extraction from the standard. What is that? If an operating segment is identified as a reportable segment in current period, in accordance with the quantitative threshold, in accordance with the current year quantitative threshold evaluation, right? Segment data for the prior period presented for the comparative purpose shall be restated, right? To reflect the newly reportable segment as a separate segment, even if that segment did not classify the quantitative threshold last year. Are you getting me? So that is the Pali words in the standard. We make it simple here. Okay. Right? So the paragraph, then up to page slide 19 again, second paragraph. Right? You can put a mark. The people who are having this printed slide deck, you can put a mark. That's what I have mentioned there. Then mama reconcile කරන්න කියන එකත් slide එකේ තියෙනවා. ඊළඟ slide එකේ according to the standard, we should use the reconciliation. දැන් කටි උඩ බිම් බලන සයිට් එකක් තියෙද නැත්ද දන්නේ නැහැ. පුත් දන්නේ නැහැ. full surprise වෙලා වගේ ඉන්නේ. What to do? So here we have a slide like this. So I'm preparing this. Then I'm preparing open shell and another follow-up. There. This is the paragraph we are referring. Read this. This can be tested in the exam. This is the technical wording I discussed up to now. What is that? If an operating segment is identified as per the reportable segment in current period, accordance with the quantitative threshold set, quantitative threshold this year. Right. You need to understand. Segment data for the prior period presented for the comparative purpose shall be restated. And segment data for the prior period should be restated. Right? The newly reportable segment to reflect the newly reportable segment as a separate segment, even if that the segment did not satisfy the quantitative threshold. Last year, it was not satisfied, but we need to restate. So that's the wording given in the standard, right? What is this first paragraph? This I don't read this. Last year, in other words, last year we reported 5 segments. Now it's become 4. If management think that the last year one want to make it separately, you can make it separate. This year also you can specify that as a reportable segment. That also can be tested. Last year, see, if management just that the operating segment identified as a reportable segment in the immediately preceding period is continuing significant. Information about that segment shall continue to be reported separately. If management does that an operating segment identified as a reportable segment in immediately preceding period is of continuing significance, information about the segment shall continue to be reportable segment separately in current period even if no longer meets quantitative threshold. Underline that's what important. Current year classification. Last year we had 5. Last year 5. As for the quantitative threshold. Once you are evaluating this year, 10%, 10%, 10%, 75% rule, we are having 4 reportable segments. Right? Even if it is no longer meets the quantitative threshold. What are the quantitative threshold? Criteria after that. 10%, 10%, 10%, 75%. It is not mean. Because of that, we have 4. Still, management can show it separately. If they think that it is relevant information to stakeholders, they can keep separately. If you remember that. That's what I told you. Quantitative thresholds are minimum requirement. Right? If management want to make it split to some next level extent type of, they can identify that as further reportable segment. According to the quantitative threshold, they identify only 5. They can identify maybe 8. So that's the minimum content. Keep remember that. The last paper I asked, there was a question. They identify maybe 5 reportable segments. Management asking, we have another segment also identify as a reportable segment. Can they do that? Yes, they can. The standard clearly says that quantitative thresholds are for minimum identification. If you remember that. Are you okay with this paragraph? These are the extraction from the standard, right? So let us say it. Okay. Cool. Then this is the one I discussed. Reconciliation of the total segment revenue, reportable segment profit or loss, segment asset, segment liabilities and other material segment item to corresponding entity amounts. Entity amount. Entity amounts, yeah. The P&L, the balance sheet, the cash flow statement, whatever the entity amount should be reconciled with the segment information note. That's why we had other paragraph, other kind of a row. Otherwise, it won't tally. Once you are giving that information, you need to link with the main P&L and the balance sheet, right? Right. This is basic disclosure, right? Once you are having common expenses, if you have split that to separate segment, if there are any basis should be measurement basis should be disclosed. What is the basic you use to allocate that expense? Maybe you are having security expense to the hospital. How you are going to split that? Maybe revenue basis. If you are going to split that to straight line method, maybe dividing by 3 may not be effective, right? And SAPEK segment, degree-wise segment, applied accounting, maybe MBA, maybe analytical degree, right? Degree-wise split. Have rent guy, building rent guy? Common there. Oh, common kalla degree tunata dividing by 3. Is that reasonable? Is it reasonable? Applied accounting degree ke lamai may building use karno vadi hai. Are you getting me? If it is so, you need to use student base. Student base. We are doing that segmental information. Okay. Isn't it? So I'm getting example here. If SAP is a listed entity, they're supposed to give segmental information. For that, what they're going to do, they are doing segmental information for degree-wise, right? Degree-wise, income can be identified, expense can be identified for lectures, right? And how are we going to identify this rent expense for 2 buildings? Are we going to divide by 3? The average method, can't. Straight line method, can't. Why? It's not logical. So you need to identify that rent expense according to the usage. For that, what we need to do? We need to get the number of students divided by that and number of students in applied accounting. You need to get that rent expense portion like that. In an 8 standard, you need to mention the basis for common expenses, common assets. Why the building the purchase total asset segment. Can you show that? For that also, you should have a proper basis. Likewise, you need to understand the relevant disclosures as well. That's what I wanted to highlight this again. Now I think you are comfortable with the content, the way we are doing, the way we are identifying. This is a critical standard can be tested in the exam. These are the things can be tested under the main question, right? Other than that, operating segments and then reportable segments can be tested in the first question as well. Right, first question as well. First question means, last week I mentioned that the exam paper consists with 7 questions, right? 7 questions. First 3 questions compulsory. First question, second question console, third question ratio analysis compulsory, right? First question consists with 10 small questions. once you are having 10 small questions, these reportable segments, operating segments can be tested under there. You need to be familiar with that definition. Okay, right. Maybe if I'm not putting a large questions, I can test what are the quantitative threshold. Right? So all these can be tested. So the request is you need to be familiar with the content of the standard, the requirement, disclosures, measurements, definition, and whatever the thought process behind the standard. That's it. I hope as far as say that if any question you can ask. දැනට අපි ස්ටෑන්ඩඩ් දෙකක් කරලා තියෙනවා. ඔයාලට ඩවුට් තියෙනවා නම් අහන්න පුළුවන්. මම හිතනවා හොඳට කරලා තියෙන්නේ. දැන් මේකේ past papers කරන්න ගන්න පුළුවන්. I have uploaded past papers for 33. I hope you have completed all. Now I am going to upload past papers for segmental reporting. You're supposed to do that as well. This is corporate reporting. Past papers කරන්න නැතුව exam වෙන්නේ නැහැ. අනිත් papers වගේ අන්තිම දවසේ ආලෝකයෙන් පහලා කරන්න බෑ. Right? That would commitment here. Right. So now we are going to start case 34. Interim financial statements. The very straightforward standard. Interim financial reporting. Interim financial reporting. Guess that. Now you can write that. Right? Guess that. Interim financial report. Right. So year-end financial statements you are familiar, right? Year-end reporting. Okay. This is not a compulsory standard. That's the request. This is not a mandatory standard. It's a voluntary standard. If you are doing interim financial reporting, if you want to comply with this, definitely you can use this. If you are using this, it should be in line with this interim financial statement standard, interim reporting standard, right? So once you are completing this standard, you need to understand what are the components of interim set of financial reporting. What we are going to highlight that in this set of financial statement, and what are the key disclosures we need to make it. Right? For full year-end financial statement, we are having separate standard. To add that, what is that? Complete set of financial statement LKS 1. I think you know that, right? Complete set of financial statement LKS 1. Set of condensed financial statement. Interim financial statement, in other words, LKS 34. Okay. What do you mean by interim financial period? That's a definition. It is shorter than full financial year. Take a definition again. That a month could have not name. What is the interim period? Financial reporting period shorter than full financial year. We call as interim period. Maybe 6 months, maybe 9 months, maybe 1 month. The interim financial period, right? Interim audit. Have you came across the word interim audit? Year-end audit? Interim means we start the audit earlier for 9 months. We are doing maybe large audit. We are doing interim audits, right? Why? At the last moment, we can't will get delayed. Before the year, we are starting interim audit, and then we roll forward that to the year-end audit. At that time, we know the word interim, right? Interim. Interim financial report. The financial report that contains either a complete or contains set of financial statement for interim period. Condensed or complete. What do you mean by that? Condensed mean? Condensed mean? It's a summary type of word. Summary. Maybe complete, right? Let's clearly say contains either complete or contains statement of finance statement for interim period. Right? Complete, maybe PNL and maybe full disclosures are there. The complete set of financial statement, but for the 9-month period. You can do that. Okay, interim financial report, interim period. I hope that's clear. So the main objective of this standard to give the minimum content of interim financial statement, the component, and to give a clear guideline about interim financial statement. Right? This is not a compulsory standard. But it says standard does not require to prepare interim financial statement. It is not required to do that. If you are doing it, you can comply with this. But other standards, if you are using PP&E, you need to implement with LK 16. If you are having the investment property, you need to go with 40. If you are having biological asset, 41, right? You need to comply with that. But here, there's no requirement to do interim finances. But just something else, some other regulation. Standard doesn't require to do interim finance report. That may require in some other laws in the country. Security Exchange Commission company listed company it requires to publish quarterly financial statement. It's a different requirement. Once you are publishing quarterly financial statements as per listed the SEC requirement, you can comply with the standard. But we can't say that it's a standard requirement. You are using this standard for interim financial report. Right? So as a counter, Sri Lankan accounting standards committee encourage publicly traded entities to provide interim financial report that conform to recognition, measurement, and disclosure principles set out in this standard. Always they motive this, encourage to use this standard for quarterly reporting, right? Quarterly report. Right. Especially publicly traded entities are encouraged. Not a must. Publicly traded entities are encouraged to publish financial reports at least first half of their financial year. Right? To make their interim financial report available not later than 6 days after the end of the interim period. Interim period. Right? Interim period again, when 6 days publish encourage. Encourage means not a must. Keep remember that. So make a examiner is it a must? It is not a must. It is not a requirement. Right? But if there's some other law in the country, it is required to do that. It's a requirement, not according to the standard, but it's according to other standard, other regulation, right? What is that? The elements of interim set of financial statements. What are they? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 elements are there. In a set of interim financial statements, it should be consistent with the condensed statement of financial position, condensed comprehensive income, right? Condensed statement of changes in equity, condensed statement of cash flow, selected notes, explanatory notes, right? What should be there? Not detailed disclosures, not detailed notes to give explanation to these balances, condensed balances. You can give this notes. I have uploaded one interim set of financial statement to your LMS. You can go through to identify these elements. I think you are familiar with the set of financial statements, right? Balance sheet, P&L, PD statement, cash flow. I hope you are familiar, right? But you may not familiar with this. For that, I have uploaded one set of interim financial statement to the LMS. You can go through that. It's a condensed one. It may not be having full maybe content. It's a summary version. Okay. Right. Basic right science. I hope you can read through and you can understand what it clearly says. If you are planning to publish condensed financial statements, each of headings and subtotals that were included in its most recent annual financial statements, right? Selected explanatory notes are required by FS 34. Right? Additional line item or notes shall be included if they are omission would make the condensed interim finance statement misleading. So the current you have published annual financial statements, right? If you are missing something, you need to highlight that. You need to mention that. If you are missing something, you need to add a separate explanation for that. Otherwise, it will be misleading. Without to reduce that misleading, what we need to do? We need to mention. We need to put a separate note. Additional item or notes can be included. We are going to deviate from the audited financial statement. We are going to deviate from audited financial statement. We are supposed to put an explanation, right? So what are the notes you are going to put here? Events or transactions, specific notes you need to put. Within the interim period, you may have different transaction within that interim period. That specific transaction, you can put that as a notes about that transaction. You have put that note. These are the examples of event and transaction. What are they? Write down of inventories. There are any write-off about inventories, you can mention that. right? And any impairment reversals, any discontinued operation, any PPE disposal, critical disposal can happen. Critical purchase can happen during that interim period, right? And litigation settlement, or else maybe fire period, error correction. Prior period error එකක් වෙලා තියෙනවා. You are going to correct it. Right? Unrelieved loan default and breaches of loan agreements. Is there any covenant breaches? Covenants? Covenants to them? Covenants? Covenants mean in a loan agreement you may have different financial covenants or non-financial covenants, right? Covenants mean related conditions that party who are getting the loan should comply with. Those are covenants. That company should comply with these covenants. If you are going to breach that, you need to take action around that. Sometimes you have to reclassify that all the loan to current bucket. You are going to breach that covenants, right? So, is there any loan default and breaches of loan agreements? Definitely, you need to mention that, right? Any transfers between levels of fair value hierarchy? Any transfer between levels of fair value hierarchy? Fair value standard, have you done it? As far as 30 huh? Not completed. One of the okay. It's a very critical standard, right? You need to be very powerful about SLFRS 30. Why is that? It's a common standard for many other standards, right? You need to be very familiar with the standard definition for fair value, right? Fair value. So basically, that's a price. We are getting. That is the price we are getting in between market participant, transfer asset or liability, ordinary transaction as at a measurement date. All this definition features should be there. There's a very strong meaning behind this word, orderly transaction. Not ordinary transaction, orderly transaction. The price we are using in an ordinary transaction in between markets participant as at a measurement date, not the reporting date. You need to live with this standard, this definition. What's the ordinary transaction? It can't be a forceful transaction. You should have a proper knowledge about that transaction. About the content, about the location, about the quality, right? You should have proper understanding. If you are doing a transaction with some other forceful thing, if it is so, it is not a fair value. Are you getting me? What a vehicle එක තියෙනවා. what හදිසිය පරිි කරන්න බෑ. ඔය මොකද කරන්නේ? vehicle එක විකුණනවා. හදිසිය පරිි කරන්න උනා vehicle එක විකුණනවා නම්. You are not selling that vehicle for fair value, right? You have another pressure. That is not the fair value, right? Simple as it is. Likewise, you have to learn by heart about the SLFRS 13. You need to be comfortable with fair value levels, level 1, level 2, level 3. And you need to be comfortable with what? Principal market, most advantageous market. principal market and most advantageous market. You go right? And then highest and best use. Okay, highest and best use. If you're comfortable with. And observable inputs, unobservable inputs. Right? And then required disclosures. You need to be comfortable with. Once you are having that hierarchy, level 1, level 2, level 3, if you are moving out from that, if you are changing that, you need to mention here, right? As a note. Those are the things you need to highlight in the interim financial statements, right? I hope it is clear. If I am asking some 2-3 things, you need to be comfortable. I can ask under question, first question. Making local question about what interim financial alternative in the so the question may standard taking 100 maximum. Then what is the interim period? What's the interim financial statement? Content of the interim financial statement. If you are putting notes for interim financial statement, what are the scenarios? Those are the 4 possible questions I can play around with you. This end. May hathar purwa wala sir the short එක දෙන්න පුළුවන් ඉස්සරහට. මේ හතරේ තාම තියෙන ආන්සර්. ඒකට එක්සෑම් එකට යනවා මොකද කරන්න පුළුවන්? වාප්පත කරන්න ඕනේ. මේ ස්ටෑන්ඩඩ් එක chat GPT දාන්න ඕනේ. කොපි කරලා chat GPT එකට අප්ලෝඩ් කරලා all possible questions please give me කියලා අහන්න. Yes. All possible questions. ඒකට answers උත් ගන්න. ඉතින් අහන්න පුළුවන්. ඔයා රෙඩි වෙලා ඉන්න එක්සෑම් එක. බලමු කොහොමද කරන්නේ කියලා. එහෙම chat GPT හොඳට යූස් කරන්න. මේ assignment හදන්න. එහෙම third class එකේ යූස් කරන්න. For your better use it, right? Okay. Right. Cool. So, example, other disclosure required. Any other disclosures? Any other disclosures you are supposed to disclose? Changes in accounting policy. Within this interim period, is there any changes in accounting policy? Accounting policy change, right? You need to mention that. And explanation of any seasonality or cyclicality of interim operations. What do you mean by that? Seasonal and cyclical. There may be, let's say it's a hotel operation, right? Yeah, hotel operation not in this Colombo area. It may be down south, or it may be yellow, seasonal business, right? In the first quarter, you may have not that much operation because of the season. If it is so, you need to mention it. Otherwise, that implication, that the picture may be not that good. You have to mention that this is a seasonal effect. Maybe last 3 months, we had this we had a type of a natural disaster. If it is so, we need to mention it, right? Unusual item affecting asset liabilities. If there's a fire, if there's any damage, you need to mention it. Changes in estimates. If you are having estimates, in a balance sheet, you may have many estimates. These estimates definitely will change. The change should be mentioned, right? And if there are dividend paid and segmental information, definitely you need to mention segmental information, right? Event after the reporting period. Reporting period means event after the interim reporting period. You need to event. Event after the reporting period, we have 2 events. What are they? Event 2 Event after the reporting period. What are the 2 types of events? Adjusting event, non-adjusting event. Oh, event 2 adjusting event and non-adjusting event. That should be disclosed there. Right? To the interim period. To the interim period. Please remember that. Right. This slide also very important, right? Once you are arriving to interim numbers, these are the guidelines in the standard, right? Basically, this is very important. First, if it is seasonal cyclical, you can't anticipate and defer that income. You can't defer it. You need to recognize that to the particular period. Keep remember that. Let's say you have 12 months for the period, you have quarterly reporting. First quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. You are having only revenue, third and fourth quarters. You can't defer it for all months. Keep remember that. Actual month revenue expense should be reported to that period. That's important. Again, this is the revenue, this is a cost, right? The revenue is a cost. Cost also can't be deferred. If you have incurred a cost for that period, you need to mention that, right? So this type of expense, the expenses will come at the end of the period. That should be estimated of weighted average annual effective tax rate expected for that period should be used. That's important. On the interim period and tax account naturally bad. Well, tax give 1 year end. You should calculate it by using effective tax rate and identify a portion for that period. Right? Average tax amount should be calculated. Right? That's called best estimate of the weighted average annual effective income tax rate expected for this year should be used and calculated. Right? Materiality, that's also important. In deciding how recognize, measure, classify or disclose an item for interim financial reporting purpose, materiality to be assessed in relation to the interim period financial data, not forecast annual data. What do you mean by that? That's also important. Materiality. Where we are discussing materiality and set of. We discussed under case 1. Once we are discussing revenue, what's the revenue, what's the expense, once we are discussing, we learn one other definition, set of, materiality, and what else? We discussed about some definitions. Materiality means if it is not material, we don't need to mention, right? If it is not material, we can set it off. But here I clearly mentioning what once you are using your materiality for interim balances, that should be based on your interim numbers, not about the annual numbers. Are you getting me? Annually, your revenue may be 1 billion. With compared to annual 1 billion, there's a loss, there's an accident. It will be a very small amount. But once you are reporting this quarter, it will be 500 million. That will be material to 500 million, but not for the 1 billion. Standard clearly saying that if you want to report according to LKS code, you don't depend on the annual figures. You need to consider that reporting figures. Your materiality for financial statement should be calculated based on the reporting period numbers, not the annually forecasted numbers. Make a මොකක්ද කියලා කිව්වේ. දැන් තේරෙන්නේ නැත්නම් දැන් අහන්න. තේරෙන්නේ නැත්නම් ඔයයිට ඩිෆරන්ට් ෆීල්ඩ් එකක. මොන හරි ආර්ට් හරි නේද? නැත්නම් මේ බයොලොජි හරි ඉන්ජිනියරින් හරි කරන්න. but තේරෙන්නේ නැත්නම් අහන්න. These small things can be tested in the exam, right? This is also very critical. Right, that's it, I guess. For this case 2. This also, if there's a change, right? Estimate amount reported interim with this change significantly during the financial period. That nature, amount, all these things should be disclosed separately in your annual financial statement. What do you mean by that? Q4, Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. Profitability 10 million, 10 million, 5 million, 10 million, again 7 million. 7 million, right? Once you are doing your annual financial statement, once you are giving your annual financial statement, your revenue 45. You have reported 4 quarters. 4 quarters for the accumulation into 10, 15, 25, 32. Total revenue 32 you have reported. But once you are issuing annual financial statement, it has varied to 45. What are the next what you pass for revenue? If there's this type of misunderstanding, you need to clarify what's the reason for this. Otherwise, your quarterly numbers should be tally with the year-end numbers. Right? That's really mentioning. But if they say the nature amount of that change must be disclosed in the notes to the annual financial statement. Right? Okay. That's it about interim financial statement. Standard done. Key things we discussed. I hope if there's a request from the management to you to have an interim financial statement, now you can go through this standard and you can prepare a set of financial statements according to case 34. Right? Case 34. That's it. Any doubts? 34 we discussed. What's the interim financial statement? We know that it's not mandatory, right? And the interim period, content. If there's a notes, what are the things? What are the disclosures we need to do? How we are going to average common expenses and cyclical expenses, income, we can't defer that, right? And if there are significant changes with the annual reported numbers, with the final numbers, we need to have proper explanation. So those are the key things we learned under LKS 34. Any doubts? Any questions? Right. We are starting LKS 21. What is that? Effect from changes in exchange rates to the financial statement. Right? LKS 21. LKS 21 kara console patanga. Right? We are going to start LKS 21 now. Now, up to today, we have completed 33, 34, 8. If you have any questions about these 3 standards, I should responsible. You should responsible to ask any doubts, right? Okay. Cool. You can go to the washroom and have a kind of a thought meeting. You can come to English in 5-10 minutes, right? Calculation and you can take that. I'm planning to do something about this. Yes. So here is a very critical standard. Here we have numbers as well, right? Numbers mean Slide 34. We're supposed to do some calculation as well. Under this 21. You should know that why we are learning this standard. What is the complexity behind this standard, right? Before the standard, we need to know what's the intention of learning this. Okay. So what are the challenges we had because of that? This standard introduced by the standard setters. First, we should understand challenges. So what are the challenges around this exchange rate change about financial reporting? What are the implications? What we need to understand and learn around this standard, and what are the complications we may have? That is the question you should inculcate within you. Then and there you can get guidelines here. Once you are having exchange differences, once you are doing this financial statement, what are the implications? No more questions. What's the exchange rate first? Foreign exchange rate. It's a topic we are discussing on economics, right? Foreign affairs, foreign exchange rate. And under risk management also we are learning. What's that? Foreign exchange risk management, right? We need to have forward contract or swap agreements, and we need to manage that foreign exchange risk. As accountant, what's the implications about foreign exchange changes? Then we have been going to stand and almost very well. There's 160, 40 complicated killer there. So advanced mentally taking with that, right? You can layman type taking him a gun paper. So under exchange rate differences, how it affects the financial statements? How it will impact? The exchange rate take impact in financial gains and losses. At which point are we supposed to use this? Yeah, transaction risk, transaction risk. Foreign countries, your transaction that will create a gain or losses. Gain or losses. Fluctuation of the rates. Yeah, correct. There's an impact like that. Any impact, and what else? Year-end valuation. They can Q&A then. Foreign exchange gain or losses. There may be two types. What are they? Conversion gain or losses and operational gain or losses. Operational gain or losses and conversion gain or losses. Foreign exchange gain or loss, operational gain or loss, it is tax allowable deduction. Conversion gain or losses, it's a provision. It is a conversion difference. It is not deductible for tax purpose. What's the difference between these two? Foreign exchange gain or losses, operational losses, and conversion losses. කාටත් තේරෙන්න ඕනේ මේ කියන්නේ. Foreign exchange rate එක මොකක්ද කියලා කියන්නේ නැහැ. ඒක ඉගෙනගෙන තියෙන්නේ නේද pre school එකේ ඉඳන්. What's the foreign exchange rate? Different countries using different currencies, right? Different countries using different currencies. These currencies we can call as rare currency, common currency, right? Common currency is developing countries like us, we are using common currency, right? There may be US dollars and maybe euro and pounds. All these things we call as rare currency, right? Those are basic knowledge you should have around exchange rates, right? This exchange rates numbers will be decided based on the exchange rate will be decided based on the lag and lag will be decided based on foreign currency demand and the supply. Foreign currency demand and supply කනුව තමයි දැන් ඩොලර් එක වැඩි වෙනවා අඩු වෙනවා කියලා නේ. දැන් අපි අපේ ඩොලර් එක be against dollar always getting appreciate, depreciate, right? That will indicate the seriousness and the status of that country, the stability, strongness, the bargaining power, all this status will be decided based on that. Are you having that strong economic power? That will indicate the exchange rates, right? The water demand and supply. The dollars අපි import කරන හැමදේටම we need to pay foreign currency. So whatever that's why we are having a bulk of loan as a country. A loan you will live reason a gap එක ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන කොහොමද? Individually gap එකක් create කරලා තියෙන්නේ. Individually create කරලා තියෙන්නේ. ඔව් individually create කරලා තියෙන්නේ gap. ඒකට loan ගන්න වෙලා තියෙන්නේ foreign currency. Individually තනි පුද්ගලයෙක් විදිහට create කරලා තියෙන්නේ. ඔව් කරලා තියෙන්නේ දැනටම. මොබයිල් ෆෝන් එකක් පාවිච්චි කරනවනේ. ඒක කොහෙන්ද ලංකාවේ හදපු එකද? දැන් පිටරටින් එන හැමදේම පිටරටින් එන vehicle එකක් පාවිච්චි කරනවා. whatever as an individual person your foreign currency balance is a loan, right? Your foreign currency wallet is a loan individually. You have not earned any dollars yet, but you have taken some foreign items by paying dollars. If it is your net dollars expense and income for last maybe 10 years, you are having individually you are having a deficit. Why? You have not earned any single dollar. Your parent may done that. If you are having a business or something like that, they may earn, but individually you have a person having large loan balance against foreign currency. If it is as accumulation as a country, once you are getting together, you are having a large loan balance. ඒක මේව කරන්න නම් මොකද කරන්න ඕන? අර එදා වෙල හම්බ කරගන්න. අපි එදා වෙල හම්බ කරගත්තොත් අපි ජීවත් වෙන්න කියන්නේ. නේද? එහෙම නැහැ. If you are living in an open economy, එදා වෙල හම්බ කරගත්තොත් ජීවත් වෙන්න බෑ කියන එක තේරුණා කවද? Once you are having these petrol queues around the country and that deficit with this fertilizer and some other goods, gas නැතුව ඉන්නවනේ. ඒක තේරුණා අපිට මේ එදා වෙල හම්බ කරගත්තා ජීවත් වෙන්න බෑ කියන එකක් තේරුණා. එහෙනම් මොකද්ද වෙන්න ඕන? එදා වෙල මොනවද හම්බ කරන්නේ? earn කරන්නේ dollars. එදා වෙල foreign currencies වලින් earn කරන්නේ. Otherwise you can't use these things. You are creating a debt to the country. If you are using something, you are purchasing from other country, you need to earn individually. Then, right? Otherwise, you have contributed to that loan. So, the political statement in general, if you can think about this, the scenario, the equation, you can easily understand what's happening in the country. You can't stop. For that, what you need to do? You need to be innovative. You need to be innovative. At least you need to deliver some services to outside, earn dollars. At least or විලා එකක් හදලා හරි නේද? සුද්දෙක් රවට්ටලා හරි දීලා හරි dollars earn කරන්න පුළුවන්. නේද? එහෙම කරේ නැත්නම් වාට contribute කරන්නේ නැහැ. You need to understand it and you need to contribute to it. As a university, as a degree holder, you should have intention not to search a job, right? But to search the innovative way to earn foreign currency. Right? Okay. So that about general understanding. Under this standard, you can see our good I'm going to sense taking to discuss more. We can jump into the content in the standard, right? Once you are dealing with this foreign currency, foreign transactions, as an organization, as a finance division, we are having different repercussions, right? Some repercussions are definitely once you are having a company, we supposed to do transaction with the foreign currency, foreign parties. Those are transactions during the period, right? And once you are doing transactions, end of the day, you may arrive with some liabilities and assets. One transaction කරන්න වෙනවා ඒ වගේ end එකේ වල liabilities assets තියෙන පුළුවන් foreign currency. And a point again, foreign currency දෙක deal කරන්න. At that time, we need a guideline. How we need to treat that. Okay, that's why we are learning this standard. Not only that, sometimes your organization may have a branch in another country. That branch you are controlling. You need to consolidate that. You need to merge that with the local entity. If it is so, we need to have a guideline to convert that to the local currency. Likewise, there are many instances to use this current currency change. If you are in a covered economy, you are having under economics, you are having a simple economy and covered economy and open economy, right? If you are in a covered economy, you don't need to use this standard. Why? You don't have any foreign currency dealings. No transactions, right? If it is so, no implication about this standard. But if you are doing transaction within the open economy, you may have transactions as well as outstanding balances as at a given day, right? Given period. Because of that, how we are going to deal with these balances, exchange rate differences will be discussed under this standard. Is that useful standard? Yes, definitely. It is useful. Wherever you go, you have to face this standard. Like SLFR is 30. Not like maybe agriculture. Not like investment property. Not like borrowing costs. Not like government grants. This is a common standard you're supposed to learn. Right? What a main standard you can get in the bad. Karming main standard again. Animal standard. Right? I hope it is clear. There are some difficult conversations about this standard. We'll discuss and we'll try to learn it. Right? So, as usual, we are having several definitions under the standard. We are having different terms, functional currency and presentation currency. Two types of currency we are learning. Functional currency and presentation currency. Functional currency and Presentation currency. Functional currency and presentation currency. And different rates we are discussing. Spot rate, average rate, balance sheet rate. Different rates we are using. Right? Here we are discussing once you are converting monetary asset, non-monetary assets we are using here. So those are the basic definitions I am going to discuss with you all, right? Functional currency and presentation currency. Functional currency, what do you mean by that? In organization, as a management, they should decide that what is the functional currency for that particular entity. Functional currency should be one for that entity. There can't be many functional currencies to one particular entity. That's the first learning outcome. Right? Functional currency should be decided by the CFO. You are supposed to decide by the functional currency of that entity. One entity should have one functional currency. The currency, they are functioning in the currency. Okay. So we are dealing with many questions. Questions mean numbers here. You need to familiar with that, right? Right. I have uploaded the question and answers to the LMS. You need to familiar with that. Making prashna මොනතරම් අහන්න පුළුවන් ස්ටෑන්ඩඩ් එක. මම එක්සෑම් වලදී වැඩි අහන්න පටන් ගත්තේ නැහැ මේකේ. ඔයාලගෙන් තමයි පටන් ගන්න. Right? Foreign subsidiary එකක් වගේ දීලා නේද? console එක. We can learn that logics, understanding it is standard for consolidation. Then there can do that. Right? Yeah, we had foreign subsidiary. So I have already tested. But in this small questions, I didn't give much questions on the standard. We'll do that with your exam, right? So I uploaded some model questions. The LMS with the answers. But right now, one of the answers, these are one of the questions. So after conducting this lecture, you can understand what are the theories, what are the guidelines here. You need to purely understand that, not as a parrot, right? This is there in the standard. Because of that, I am learning. For that, we don't want you. We want you to have proper, real understanding about the theory, and you should have a capability to translate that to a level. Wow, නැහැ මේ ස්ටෑන්ඩඩ් එකේ මෙහෙමයි තියෙන්නේ කියලා කියන්නේ. ඒකට රිසෙප්ෂන් කෙනෙක් කියන හැටි. එන්න මේ ස්ටෑන්ඩඩ් එකේ තියෙන නිසා කරනවා කියන්න ඕනේ. As per the standard, I am doing this. No need to do that. You should have a capability to explain that why standard saying like that. Why standard saying an entity should have one functional currency. One functional currency to a particular entity. Right? One functional currency, but you should have many presentation currency. Many presentation currency. What it means to you? You can use one functional currency, right? You can use one functional currency. You may have many presentation currency. It means, as an accountant, you need to decide what is the functional currency for that entity. To that, you need to go through these things To decide functional currency, standard clearly saying 5 areas. Basically, you need to justify that. Mainly that functions in the organization happening by using that currency. That is called functional currency. You need to justify that. You are doing your operations by using that functional currency. You need to have a proper understanding about that. How are you going to justify that? The main revenue you are generating through that currency. Pricing policy will be decided by using that currency. Material, labor, all these expenses will incur by using that currency, right? And then you are doing your financing by using that currency, right? And then mainly the receipts, payment, and other services will be done through that currency. If it is so, by using all these aspects, the organization, the entity should decide their functional currency. In a one entity, you should have one functional currency, right? Most of the case, if it is a company in Sri Lanka, their functional currency is LKR, 99%, right? If you want to justify that your functional currency is dollars, you should have a separate justification for that. Our functional currency is dollar කියලා කියන්නේ country එකේ ඉඳගෙන පොඩ්ඩක් අමාරුයි, right? Then and there you should justify that. You should evaluate these things, and then and there you can justify that we are working in Sri Lanka, but our functional currency is dollars. You are earning all the revenue in dollars. You are paying in dollars. You are doing analytics and everything in dollars, right? You are deciding your pricing policy, everything in dollars. If it is so, your functional currency is dollars. Then that should be decided by whom? By the CFO. That should be audited by the auditor. I hope it's clear. But as an entity, you may have different presentation currency. It means you are doing your financials, your functional currency LKR. You can convert it to dollars. You can convert it into yen. You can convert it into euro, pounds. You can issue several financial statements in different currencies. Those are presentation currency, right? You may have different presentation currency, right? One functional currency, many presentation currency. Functional currency means the currency you are doing operation, right? Presentation currency means once you are preparing your financial statement by using functional currency, you can convert it to different currencies. Whatever the financials you are presenting, that's called presentation currency, right? I hope it's clear. We have these definitions. Foreign currency is a currency other than functional currency of an entity. Your functional currency is your own currency. Foreign currency means other than functional currency, all other currency we call as foreign currency. Presentation currency means, as I said, is a currency in which financial statement are presented. That's called presentation currency. Your presentation currency may be your functional currency. Your presentation currency is maybe your functional currency. LKR වලින් නම් account set එක issue කරලා තියෙන්නේ. ඔයාගේ functional currency එක LKR, presentation currency එක right? We need to have separate disclosure for that. Functional currency and presentation currency. Functional currency and presentation currency. Right? I hope it's clear. And spot exchange rate. and closing rate. Spot exchange rate and closing rate. What do you mean by that? Spot exchange rate and closing rate. Closing rate means as at the reporting date, as at the reporting period, the rate at the reporting date, year-end rate, we call as closing rate, right? We call as closing rate. Spot exchange rate means the rate we are having as at the transaction date, as at the is the exchange rate immediate delivery. Immediate delivery means as at the transaction date rate. That's called spot rate. Spot rate and the closing rate. The spot rate as at the reporting date we call as closing rate. Right? Spot rate as at the closing date we call as closing rate. Spot rate කියන්නේ immediately transaction when there was a rate එකකට කියනවා. What's that? Spot rate here. Spot rate and the closing rate. Spot exchange rate and the closing rate. Then monetary items and non-monetary items. Those are the definitions in the standard. I hope it is clear. If you are dealing with some difficulties, let me know. The monetary items and non-monetary items. Monetary items mean monetary items, non-monetary items, and monetary items. There may be asset and liabilities that will convert to very immediate future that will convert to some other currency, right? It will convert to currency, unit of currency immediately. That called as monetary items. In the balance sheet, there may be monetary items and non-monetary items. PP&E, then investment property, all these things we consider as non-monetary items. It's very difficult to convert to currency units. Monetary items, that's called try to receive cash, right? Cash balance, bank balance, trade receivables. This asset, it will be converted, it will be earned currency immediately. That's called as monetary items. It's similar to financial asset. There's a right to receive cash. That's called financial asset. They're making up financial terms, financial currencies to convert it. Right. This essential feature of the non-monetary item is the absence of a right to receive the fixed determinable number of units of currency. We don't know how much of currency it will receive. It's very rare. It's very difficult to convert to another currency. That's called non-monetary items. Especially goodwill, non-current assets, we call as non-monetary items. Monetary items, non-monetary items. Right? Monetary items, non-monetary items. So, exam එකේ දෙපාරක් විතර ටෙස්ට් කරන්න පුළුවන් එකම exam එකේ. So, ආමේ ඩීල් කරන්නේ exam එකේ ටෙස්ට් කරන දේවල්. දැනුත් 40ක් විතර ළමයි අහගෙන ඉන්නේ නැහැ. ඉන්නවා. සමහර කට්ටිය නිදි නේද? සමහර කට්ටිය කුස් ගහන් ඉන්නේ. සමහර කට්ටිය සර් රවට්ටන ගමන් ඉන්නවා. සර් අර තේරුණා වගේ. එමිටේබා වා පාක් පුරව ගන්න ගමන්ම ඔයා ඩබල් රැවටෙනවා. ඔයාලට මොකද කරන්න පුළුවන්? එහෙනම් දැන් ටක් ගාලා ගිහිල්ලා නේද යන ගමන් කඩේ ගිහිල්ලා පඩුත් අරගෙන නේද? ගෙදර යන්න පුළුවන් ටක් ගන්න. ඇටෙන්ඩන්ස් මාක් කරන්න තියෙනවා. ඇටෙන්ඩන්ස් ලොකු අවුලක් නැහැ. මම දාන්න සේරම කඩේට අදහස්. I don't care about the attendance. We care about what? The learnings. Don't care about the at least the exam. ඒ ගැන තිම අවධානයක් නැහැ. exam ඔයා ඉන්නේ target හරි short term target. අද attendance දාගන්න පුළුවන්. assignment mark ගන්න පුළුවන්. exam එක නෑ. ඒ target එකේ lecture නැහැ. lecture එකේ target එක මොකක්ද? ඔයා මොනවද? console use කරලා segmental reporting use කරලා LKS 21 changes in exchange rate use කරලා job එක perform කරලා cash earn කරන risk එකේ තමයි මම ඉන්නේ. ඒ target එකේ තමයි. මේ standard එක මම සල්ලි හොයන්න use කරන්නේ කොහොමද? ඒක තමයි plan කරගන්න. අර short term target එකේ ඉන්න බෑ නේ. එක වසරේ ඉඳලා එකේ හිටියන. ඒක නෙවෙයි target එක. Or innone mentality එක end of the degree program, I don't care about the certificate I am getting in the convocation. I don't want that. I want the learning. මෙතන නේද? ගොඩාක් lecturers දෙනවා. එයා කවුරුත් try කරන්නේ මොකටද? මේ short term purpose එක නෙමෙයි. Learning. You need to change your behavior. Skills should improve, right? You need to have that proper understanding about this content. So that's the target, right? Wagi target එකයි මගේ target එකයි වෙනස් වුණාම that's not a good deal, right? You should have proper real intention. Okay? Especially with consoles. Right. Cool. I hope monetary items, non-monetary items clear. මේ දැන් යන්නම ඕන කට්ටිය ඉන්නවනේ යන්න අපි එවන්න බාකෝඩ් එක ෆොටෝ එකක්. WhatsApp එක. Oh, that's all right. ඒ මාර වාදයෙන් නිකන් මේක මාන වාදයක්. එහෙම ඉඳපා lectures. අදිසි lecture වල අද මරුණොත් මේ. කොහොමද? මේ lecture කරන කාලේ මාන සතුටෙන් lecture කරා. නේද? අද මම lecture කරලා යන්නේ මාන සතුටේ. each එක සම්පූර්ණයෙන් ඉවර කරා 34 එක ඉවර කරා නේ 21 එක ගොඩක් ඉවර කරා අද දවස් අද මේ ප්‍රසන්ට් එක මාර සතුටින් ඉන්නවා නැත්නම් ඔයා හැමදාම ස්කිල්ස් එකත් එක්ක මොඩ වෙවි ඉන්නේ ඒ දවසත් ප්‍රසන්ට් වෙනවා ප්‍රසන්ට් is a gift මම කිව්වා කියන්නේ ප්‍රසන්ට් කියන එකද similar but it's a gift present tense we have to live in the present tense. Don't worry about the future. For that, ඉක්මනින් ගෙදර යන්න. ගෙදර යන්න පුළුවන් ඒ දන්නේ නැහැ. නේද? ගෙදර යන්න පුළුවන් ඒ දන්නේ නැහැ. ඉක්මනට ගෙදර යන්න දුවන්න එපා. ඉක්මනට රැයට කන්න දුවන්න යන්නත් එපා. ඉක්මන් කරලා මැරි කරන්න යන්නත් එපා. අද ඉස්සෙල්ලා ඉවත් වෙන්න. හැමදාම අදක් වෙනවා. එතකොට ඒ අද දවසට ඔයා මොකද කරන්නේ? ස්ට්‍රෙස් වෙලා තමයි ජීවත් වෙන්නේ. Don't do that. Right? Don't do that. ඒ හැමදාම දැන් ඔයාගේ ජර්නි එක බලන්න හැමදාම ඔයා මේ ස්ට්‍රෙස් එකේ ඉන්නේ. ඔයා ජොබ් එකට ගියත් ජොබ් එකට යන දවසට මොකද කරන්නේ? ජොබ් එකට බැන බැනි. ජොබ් එක ගැන ස්ට්‍රෙස් වෙලා අපෝ මේ ජොබ් එක අදත් දෙනවා කොස් අදත් යන්න ඕන උදේ. ජොබ් එකට ආසාවෙන් යන්න ඕන නේද? ජොබ් එක තමන්ගේ වගේ සලකන්න. සමාන විදිහින් ඉන්න ජොබ් එක. ගෙදර මගේ ජොබ් එක ගන්න තැන කම්පැනි එකේ. පුළුවන් තරම් මොනවා හරි පිටසකින් ගෙදර ගේන්න තමයි බලන්නේ. එහෙමනේ. ගොඩක් කට්ටිය යනවා තවස්. ෆොටෝ කොපියක් හරි නිකන් දාගෙන ඉඳි බලන්නේ. මල් පැල ගලවගෙන ඔෆිස් එක. මොනවා හරි ඒ මාත් කරන් තමයි සයි කරන්නේ. print out දාන්න. එහෙම ඒවා රියලි පිටතන්නේ නැහැ. හැබැයි වා 365 days වලින් වැඩිපුර මින්නේ කොහෙද? ඔෆිස් එකේ. හැබැයි ඔෆිස් එකත් ලස්සනට තියෙනවා. කවුරුත් ඔෆිස් එකේ මල් බවන්නවද නැහැ. ඔෆිස් එක ලස්සනට තියෙන්න හදාගන්න try කරනවා. ඔෆිස් එක ලස්සනටම තියෙනවා. මොකද ඔයා ඇත්තටම ජීවිතේ වැඩි කාලයක් ගත කරන්නේ ඔෆිස් එකේ. ඔයා තමන්ගේ කියලා මේව කරගෙන ගෙදර ඉන්නේ පොඩි වෙලාවක්. ඔයා වැඩිපුර මෙතන හදහද මෙතන ඉන්නේ. ඔයා හැම වෙලේම මොනවද වෙලා තියෙන්නේ? මෙතන හදහද මෙතන ඉන්න එපා. මෙතනත් හදන්න ලස්සන. ඔෆිස් එකත්. ඔෆිස් එක ඉන්න පුළුවන් ලස්සන තැනක් කරන්න. ඔයා යන දවසේ නෑ. That is the attitude you need to develop, right? Don't think about very, narrow-minded. Don't, get over this bad attitude, negative attitude, right? So you have to face to the reality. As a DPO, that's the expectation we want. If you can think about that, you can change your behavior like that. That's the person, that's the employee we want. Take to my team. Right? මගේ ටීම් එකේ වේකන්සි තියෙනවා. හැබැයි මම තාම හොයනවා හොඳ ළමයි කවුද? ඕගනයිසේෂන් එකට ගන්න. එහෙම ඉන්ටර්විව් කරලා හොඳටම අපි අන්ඩර්ස්ටෑන්ඩ් කරනවා. ළමයි හිතන්නේ කොහොමද? ළමයිගේ ඇටිටියුඩ් කොහොමද? වා ස්කිල් එක මොකක්ද සෙල් කරන්න ඕන? වාගේ ඇටිටියුඩ්. Not your competence. Right? Not your marks, not your status, not your family background. You can sell your skills plus your attitude. Then and there you can be a successful person, right? So we are dealing with case 29. Sorry, 21. We discuss about this definitions, right? I hope it is clear. If you have any doubts, you can ask, right? Based on these definitions, we are going to discuss the basic implications. That's a normal routine of a standard. We are dealing with definitions and then we are coming to measurement, right? We are coming to measurement. Initial definition, subsequent measurement, right? We are going to discuss about this transaction, right? Once you are having a foreign operation, we discuss how we are going to convert that. Foreign operation, in preparing financial statement, each entity, we are a standalone entity, an entity with foreign operation, such parent or foreign operations such as subsidiary, determines functional currency. So once you are having this set of subsidiary or parent, right? Subsidiary or parent, that entity can decide their functional currency and their presentation currency. Let's say you are having a company here. You are supposed to start another company in maybe Mali, maybe Doha, maybe in Galle, Malaysia, right? So once you are establishing a branch over there, a subsidiary over there, that entity can decide their functional currency, right? According to their definition. Okay. So once you are doing their financial statement, if you want to convert it, then and there you can use the guideline in the standard. That guideline will say like this. These are the transactions. We are having this if you want to convert a subsidiary or associate or parent entity financials into other currency, This is the way we need to use, right? How we are going to use that? The result financial position of a entity shall be translated into a different presentation currently using following procedures. How we are going to do that? Asset and liabilities should be converted based on the balance sheet date rate, right? Closing rate. We need to use the closing rate. See? Closing rate. The monadman QA. One entity may have different subsidiaries or branches in other countries, right? They can decide their own functional currency. If it is so, their functional currency may be different. If it is so, we want to convert it to the local currency. Once you are converting that, what is the guideline we need to follow? This is the way we need to do. Asset and liabilities as at the closing rate. Revenue and income as at the date of the transaction. It means spot rate. Means spot rate. Make amaru ga. Make amaru nam kada karate. Make amaru nam apu kada karate. Api kena make it average rate use karate. Average rate එක use කරලා convert කරන්න. Then all resulting exchange difference shall be recognized as a separate component of equity. Separate component of equity. The foreign currency exchange difference, foreign operation conversion exchange difference, we call as a item in where OCI. Foreign currency exchange difference. Foreign currency exchange difference. Sorry. Equity. If we are getting equity, we are transferring based on spot rate. Right? The income expense, the change in this amount. Appi then මේකෙන් තමයි change එකේ. නැත්නම් වාගේ asset and liabilities විතරක් change කරා නම් වාගේ asset and liabilities convert කරා නම් වාගේ asset liabilities conversion difference will be set it off. Right? You are using same rate. Right? For opening equity balance, you are using this year-end balance sheet. But for the period, income and expenses will be converted based on the spot rate. Because of that, that will add to the equity now. That will come up as an asset in other side. That will convert it in a different rate. Because of this, you end with the foreign currency exchange difference. That foreign currency exchange difference you need to set report in OCI. OCI එකෙන් කොහාටද දාන්නේ? ඒක හොයාගෙන බලන්න. homework එකක්. බලන්න. OCI එකේ මේක කොහාටද දාන්නේ කියලා. ඒක මොකද OCI එකේ කොහාටද දාන්නේ කියන්නේ බලන්න. OCI එකේ කොහාටද දාන්නේ? other comprehensive income කියන එකේ කොහාටද දාන්නේ කියන්නේ බලන්න. OCI consists with two parts. මේ parts දෙක දන්නවනේ. අන්නව දන්නේ නැහැ කියන්නේ බා. ඔබත් මමත් අපහසුතාවයටපත් වෙනවා. නේද? නෑ. ඉන්කම් වදන්නවා financial statements වල element පහක් තියෙනවා. දන්නවනේ. P&L, statement of financial position, changes in equity නේද? ඒක දන්නේ නැහැ කියන්න එපා. ඒක දන්න. ඒක ඉගෙන ගත්තේ නේද? වා. මේ කතා කරන්න පටන් ගත්ත දවස් ඉඳලම දන්න දෙයක්. Five components of financial statements, right? ඒක එකක් දන්නවා income statement, right? Income statement having two parts, right? Income statement having two parts. What are they? P&L and other comprehensive income. Why we are having two parts? Why we are having two parts? Why we are preparing financial statement? To evaluate the performance of the management. To identify the performance. To take decision about the performance of the management. Right? So the management performance should be taken based on their decisions. Right? Their decisions should be evaluated. Based on that, we are separating income and expenses. Whatever the unrealized gain and losses, are we going to park it in the P&L? No. If we are parking it in the P&L, that will net it off this management performance. Because of that, we have OCI, other comprehensive income. The gain, unrealized gain or losses arising beyond the management decisions. Maybe conversion, maybe actuarial gain or loss, maybe fair value gain or losses. We'll park it in the OCI. Right? OCI also can be divided into two. අන්නේක තමයි මං අහන්නේ කොහාටද දාන්නේ කියලා. දැන් මම ලියලා දෙන OCI එක. OCI එකෙන් කැලි දෙකක් තියෙනවා. නේද? Reclassify to the P&L, not reclassify to the P&L. අන්නවා කියලා හිතන්නේ. Reclassify to the P&L, not reclassify to the P&L. දැන් revaluation reserve එක. එළ gain එක. මොන කැලේට දාන්නේ? OCI දාන්නේ. OCI එකෙන් මොන කැලේට දාන්නේ? Not reclassified to the P&L. මං අහන්නේ for in operation conversion gain or loss එක. Yes, we have to put OCI. Where we are going to put? Reclassify to P&L or not reclassify to P&L. ඒක බලාගෙන ඉන්න. right? ඇයි කියලාත් කියන්න. දැන් වාට management එකට කියන්න පුළුවන් අපි මේකට දාන්න ඕනේ මේක. You should have answer. Why is that? A PP&E evaluation gain or loss reclassified, not reclassified P&L. If we are doing revaluation gain, you know that revaluation gain double entry, asset account debit, credit to the revaluation gain. That gain should be parked in OCI, not reclassified to the P&L. At the point of disposal, we are not again reclassified to as a gain to the P&L. We are getting that within the equity state. Right? Why? It is not a, we have not kept this PP&E for selling purpose. It is not a sellable, it is not wrong word, it is sellable. We didn't have a selling purpose as a management. Management not taking this asset for selling purpose. If it is selling in some instance, we can't get back to the P&L. It is not a performance of the management. Right? It is not a performance of the manager. Because of that, we are not reclassifying to the P&L. That's why we are parking it under not reclassifying to the P&L. Right? My question is, once you are converting that foreign operation to a local operation, that gain or loss, where we are going to park? OCI, reclassified P&L or not reclassified to P&L. එහෙම reclassify not reclassify අදහන ළමයි ඉන්නවද නැහැ? ඒක අහගලා තියෙන්න ඕන. right? අදහනවනම් වා අහන තැන් වැරදි දේවල්. වා සමහරට අහන්නේ Facebook එකකින් වෙන්න පුළුවන් දේවල්. වා සමහරට අහන්නේ වාගේ යාළුවෝගෙන් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. වා සමහරට අහන්නේ maybe from your parents, which they are coming from different sector. Right? Here we are having different people, right? Different families. They are maybe come up with different other sectors. We have to respect them. Maybe actors may be there, maybe entrepreneurs may be there, maybe doctors, engineers, different fields. They don't know about this reclassified P&L and not reclassified P&L. Don't ask from them. Right? So you should have a proper understanding. Right? Cool. So we discuss about monetary items and non-monetary items. Once we are having monetary items and non-monetary items in a financial statement, right? A particular entity, this is how initial recognition and subsequent measure. Initial recognition and subsequent measure. Initial recognition, how we are going to recognize the subsequent measure, monetary items and non-monetary items within the organization. And then whole company can convert. Here we discuss about what here? Monetary items and non-monetary items. Right? Monetary items and non-monetary items. Monetary items, initial recognition, subsequent measure. Initial recognition, subsequent measure. Monetary item, non-monetary item, initial recognition and subsequent measurement. So whatever the transaction, you know that whatever the asset and the liabilities, monetary asset, non-monetary asset will be generated, right? Monetary items, non-monetary items will be generated through the transactions, right? But asset liabilities here and then having transaction is only. Yes, in organization, you are having several transactions. And transaction should be measured based on the spot rate. Based on the spot rate. Based on the spot rate. See? Based on the spot rate. Rate of the transaction. Different level. Right. So whatever the transaction should be converted based on the spot rate. So after having this foreign currency transaction, you end with monetary asset and monetary liabilities within the organization. That at each balance sheet date, monetary items shall be translated using closing rate. Monetary items should be converted based on the closing rate. Monetary item, you know, one of the cash, bank balances, receivables, likewise, right? Non-monetary items that are measured in terms of historical costs. The foreign currency shall be translated duty exchange rate at the date of the transaction. At the date of the transaction. We can't use closing rate to convert this. Then what making an example in Mughal. Today you are purchasing Today you are purchasing the land by paying in dollars. For foreign කෙනෙක්ට අයිති land එක අපි purchase කරනවා. අපි කරන්නේ dollars. Once you are paying dollars, as of today, we call as spot trade. You are paying dollars. What's the double entry? Cash credit, debit to land account. In dollars, you can convert that. How much of dollars? You can say that $2 million. $2 million. Right? $2 million. So, now you have the land, right? At the balance sheet. As at the year end, you are going to convert year end exchange rate difference. Are you going to convert that to the closing rate? No. What is standard guideline? We have to use the historical purchase rate conversion rate. So within this period, foreign exchange rate not created, not add a value to the land. Right? Are you getting me? If it is so, it is a non-monetary item. Non-monetary item. Non-monetary item. But if you are having foreign exchange, maybe cash, wage asset එක land එක නම් spot rate, sorry, historical rate. Your asset maybe you are having, as at the reporting date, you are having your FCBU account. FCBU account, you are having $1,000. $1,000. So to make $1,000 හම්බෙච්ච දවසේ ගන්න convert කරන්නේ. At the closing rate. So this is a monetary item. Monetary item and the non-monetary item. You remember that. This is another thing. Non-monetary item, if you are doing fair valuation, non-monetary items that are measured at fair value in foreign currency, that fair value date we have to use. The exchange rate we had at the fair valuation date, we need to use it. Foreign currency shall be translated using the exchange rate at the date when the fair value was determined. මේක තාම ටෙස්ට් කරලා නැහැ exam එකේ. ටෙස්ට් කරන්න පුළුවන්. මොකද කියන්නේ? වගේ land එක ගන්න දවසේ value එක තමයි land එක convert කරන්නේ. Once you are purchasing a land, you have to use the date as at the purchase date. The rate as at the purchase date. That's called historical rate, right? If you are doing fair valuation for the land, we are doing fair valuation for the land. We are using revaluation mode. We are doing fair valuation for the land. Once you are doing fair valuation, as at that date, there may be exchange rate. You have to use that. Right. Now we discuss conversion, right? Basically, monetary asset, monetary liability conversion, and conversion of subsidiary and other, maybe a branch. Right? I hope it is clear. So as an accountant, these are the disclosures we need to do. Basically, exchange differences recognized in P&L and functional currency justification. If you are changing functional currency, those disclosures, right? Presentation currency. All these things should be disclosed under financial statements, right? Financial statements. If we want to change this functional currency, You need to justify, right? I told you, you have definition for functional currency. You need to apply most of the things, right? If you want to change the functional currency, you need to justify it. You reported LKR. Based on the change in your environment, you are changing to dollars. The change in functional currency. How we are going to change the functional currency? Here discussed here. When there is a change in entity's functional currency, the entity shall apply the translation procedures applicable to new functional currency prospectively from the date of the change. Prospectively. Estimate, not retrospective. Right? From this year onwards, you need to do that. In other words, an entity translates old item into new functional currency using the exchange rate at the date of the change. So you are converting that to the new currency as at the reporting, as at this change date. Then and there, you are reporting by using the new functional currency. This is a very rare instance, changing the functional currency. Normally, one company having one functional currency. Right? Okay, so I think we discuss all these scenarios here. Let's say we are having an example like this. Right. Here we have question. ABC company purchased a motor vehicle for $400,000, right? At the transaction rate, exchange rate was $1 320 LKR. Right? ABC has paid the $4,400 after 2 months. At the point of payment, exchange rate was 340. How you are going to account? How you are going to pass increase? It's a simple question. Now the moment. Try to do this. How we are going to pass double entry? Motor vehicle, you should understand that it's a PPND, right? This is ABC is not a motor vehicle selling organization. It's a PPND to the organization. The PPND, right? It is a non-monetary item. Non-monetary item. Then කොහොමද double entry pass කරන්නේ? So the record that transaction in your account. So we have 2 stages. What the 2 stages? I have not mentioned any dates, right? Year end, we don't know, right? I just give. So what's the transaction? Once you are purchasing or key accounts දාලා පෙන්නන්න පුළුවන් නැත්නම් double entry වෙන්න. right? Once you are purchasing this, once you are purchasing this, after 2 months. So then here you are not going to pay, right? You can't credit to cash here. You need to put liability. So front end it can put the liability first. Right. Is the percentage rate? Once you are paying it, after 2 months, exchange rate 340. $136. Debit to PBE payable. What's the issue now? Not the first Liability picture. We have a gap, right? We have a gap. We have a gap of 8 million. That 8 million, where we are going to debit? Where we are going to debit? We got the asset check class. Asset check purchase කරන්න ගත්ත නිසා. You can see that credit debit is මේ account එකේ මොන පැත්තද මේ difference එක? Debit balance එක. Right? දැන් කටිට එක තේරෙන්නේ නැත්නම් ප්‍රශ්නයක්. මේ balance එක තියෙන්නේ කීයද? මේක 128ක් තියෙන්නේ. pay කරනකොට cash credit debit to here 136. දැන් වාට degree මොලේට පේන්න ඕන. We have 8 here. 8 credit, debit to where? Debit to this account. Asset purchase කරන්න ගත්ත නිසා. Can't do right. We can't change the non-monetary asset value. Non-monetary asset should be recorded based on the historical rate. This change should be recorded as an exchange loss. Credit here, debit to where? Debit to exchange loss account. 8 million. I hope it's clear. Okay. Right. I hope it's clear. ගොඩාක් කතා කරනවා නේද මේ ගැනද විසඳයක් එක ගැන දැන් තාත් ඉස්රායිලි අංගම් 10ක් තියෙනවා යන්නේ තාම යන්නේ ඉවර කරන්නේ නැහැ බෑග් දාන්න එපා පොත් බෑග් වල දාන්න එපා එහෙම කලාමේ ඉස්පාරක් බෑග් එකේ දාන්න ගත්ත කිව්වා දැන් නවත්තයි එහෙම නවත්තන්නේ දැන් මේ 30 වෙනි පාර බෑග් එකේ දාලා ආයෙත් ගත්ත කිව්වා don't do that right literally දාගන්න පුළුවන් බෑග් එකේ පොත් කලබල වෙන්න එපා Share loss account should be debit. We can't debit it to the asset account. In other words, asset means we should have future economic benefits, right? We are recording as asset the present value of economic benefits, right? But depreciating the exchange rate, there's no impact to the asset, future economic benefit generation, right? So, the asset value is very bad. Exchange rate deviates. We don't have that loss. That is a penalty to the management. Not paying on time. Because of that, they're getting a plus 8 million. If they are paying on the transaction date, there's no such a loss. Right? It is a penalty for delaying 2 months. That penalty can't be capitalized. That's a management weakness. It's a loss. It is not a part of the asset value. Right? It's not part of the asset value. Okay. Right. So next week we are planning to discuss console, right? Next week you should ready with this concept, consolidation, right? Under this I am planning to discuss manufacturers, right? We are planning to right? Disposal, step disposal for its subsidiaries. How we are going to acquire a company? How we are going to from that? Right? How we are going to acquire a company step by step. Step acquisition. Right? Disposal, step disposal, and foreign subsidiaries. So these are the things we are planning to discuss. And once you are doing console question, you may be tested by using these different scenarios. Right? So once you are having console, you may have subsidiary, JVs, AOs, and associates. Subsidiary company, joint ventures, joint operations, associate companies. Right? Joint ventures, joint operation we call as joint arrangements. JA. JA can be divided into joint venture or joint operation. Okay. You may be having associate or else subsidiary. Associate and joint ventures, we are using same accounting method. whatever the investment, you need to understand the investment and the accounting treatment. What මුලින්ම දෙන්න පුළුවන් මොකද්ද company? What invest කරනවා company එක? Maybe 1%. 1% investment. Cash credit, debit to shares. That 1% is a financial instrument. Share investment. Right? Just the investment. Is the syllabus 9? How we are going to measure that? Value through P&L, value through OCI, amortized cost, right? Not amortized cost. Amortized cost use करना bad है. That will be discussed later. Once we are dealing with syllabus 9, right? Value through P&L or value through OCI. As the syllabus 9 is 1% investment. That 1% will be expanded to 20%. 20%. 20% උනා මොකක්ද? But 1% තියෙද්දි තිබුණට වඩා 20% තිබුණට කියනකොට වඩා රයිට් එකක් දෙනවා. මොකද ඒකට කියන්නේ? But දෙනවා significant influence. Significant influence. Once you are having significant influence, your accounting treatment will be changed. That will change to equity method. Fair value through OCI, fair value through P&L. The accounting method will change to equity method once you are becoming 20% hold, right? Once you are becoming more than 50% holding. What 50% what controlling power. Once you are having controlling power, you can use the accounting method. That accounting method we call as consolidation. Right? Console once you are having the control. You need to decide, you need to start your consolidation at the point of acquiring the controlling power. Right? With the controlling power onwards, you are achieving, you are doing your consolidation. Console කරන්න ගන්නේ controlling power හම්බුන දවසේ ඉඳන් ඊට කලින් console කරන්න යන්න එපා නේද ඒක personal life එකටත් හොඳයි නේද ඊට කලින් ඔයාගේ investment එක 100 10 කාලෙන්ම console කරන්න යන්න එපා නේද ඔයා balance sheet එක එකතු කරලා පෙන්නන්න යන්න එපා නේද ඔයාට controlling power ආව කියලා sure වෙනකන් ඉන්න බලන්න සමහර වෙලාවට 50% 70% තිබුණත් stake එක controlling power නැති වෙන්න පුළුවන්. තාම control කරන්නේ parents ලා වෙනවා. After the marriage also you can't control. Still the controlling power may be with the parents, right? So then be careful once you are doing your consolidation. You need to justify whether you are having controlling power or not. Keep remember, with the consolidation, you need to learn the word of control, right? With the control, only you can justify your consolidation. With that, yeah, in today, so we'll meet up with consolidation next week, right? Till that, have a week, right? So we'll meet up with the very effective session next week. What is